Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tag's Voices of Liberation podcast. So, for the new people here, I'll just go into a little introduction of who we are, what we do, who I am. So, my name is Fawn Walker Montgomery, and I'm the CEO and co-founder for Take Action Advocacy Group, or TAG as we affectionately call it, formerly known as Take Action Mon Valley, or TAMV, and we still hold the name Take Action Mon Valley. It is the name of our local chapter here in Allegheny County. And TAG has been around 10 years now. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. And when we initially started, we started due to community violence going on in our neighborhoods over here in the Mon Valley section, like in Keysport, Duquesne, Clairton, White Oak, those communities. So we were a community group for about 5, 6 years. We just are a group of people who something was going on. We gave a damn, came together, held some community events, and then around 2000 and I would say 2009, we got our own fiscal sponsor, and then we eventually got our own C3. I mean, that was 2019, not 2009. It was 2019. We got our fiscal sponsor. By 2020, we have our own C3. So now we are a full-fledged Black Liberation organization, and we primarily do our work in the Mon Valley outside of the greater Pittsburgh area, but we do some work in Pittsburgh as well. In the past, we've done some work down in the Atlanta area, working with some folks on Cop City, as well as helping out with Black pedestrian awareness because one of our chapter members up here, Quenisha Ball, was murdered down there. Her daughter, Courtney Tompkins' daughter, Quenisha, was murdered down there in Atlanta, walking across the street. So we were helping Courtney do some advocacy, and Courtney is walking and rolling on that. Courtney was one of the first people we had on this podcast to really get the word out about Quenisha's death. So Quenisha, you can look that case up. Quenisha Ball, that was in Decatur, Georgia. She's walking across the street, got hit by the car. And those are the kind of reasons why we started this podcast to really get those voices out and highlight Black voices. And that falls under our abolition social work program or complaints, where we kind of walk people through the system. We like to say the police have the system and the people have us. So folks call and we walk them through, offer legal assistance if we can, connect them with mental health therapy, do court support if we have capacity. A lot of times those cases don't become public and you don't hear about them. Sometimes they do end up coming on this podcast just to kind of get the word out and increase awareness. Outside of the social work complaint program, we also have our trainings and community consultings. We're doing organizing, community engagement. We can train on various array of topics. And we also have chapters. We have adult chapter and youth chapter. People can join any of our chapters. We have signups on our website. As far as current events, we have wellness sessions because we focus a lot on Black liberation and healing as well, because there isn't just the fighting side of liberation, there's also the healing side of liberation. So that's a little bit about TAG and how we take action and some of the things that we focus on. And today, our topic is going to be endometriosis awareness, because this is Endometriosis Awareness Month, Women's History Month, and this is also Black Feminist Month as well. So, March is a heavy month. There's some things we wanted to celebrate and bring awareness to. And we have a guest who will be joining us today to talk about some different healing methods and different ways to look at healing. So, we have Taylor, who is going to talk to us about ancestral healing. So I'm going to bring Taylor on now. Are you there, Taylor? We'll bring Taylor on in a second. I think we're having some technical difficulties there, but we really wanted to talk about endometriosis and the different healing methods that people can use outside of Western medicine. And we're also going to have a panel as well in April, not the end of March. We're going to have the panel to talk a little bit more about different methods So, are you ready to come on, Taylor? Okay, cool. All right. Hello.
You can hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, I had to join. I didn't know what happened, but we're here.
Oh no, no, no problem. Thank you for joining us today. You can kind of I just gave the audience a brief introduction. You can kind of introduce yourselves and let everybody know the work you do.
Yes, well, yes, thank you, Fawn, for bringing me
Hmm.
on. Just hearing your intro was really just it's just great to know that we have us in the community looking out for us, and to hear that you've been doing this work for 10 years and the podcast, I'm just like really in awe. So I just wanted to first just show you just some love and just all the things that you've done. And I look forward to just staying connected going forward. Excited for the March 27th talk as well. But yeah, so I'm Taylor. Uh, Born and raised in Pittsburgh, and I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an auntie. Just a leader in the community around ancestral wellness. So I organize our people around living in harmony with nature. And so that's what ancestral wellness is. It's just living in harmony with nature, thriving. So my shirt says thriving today. So thriving instead of surviving. So, ancestral wellness could be, you know, c- tapping into water and how its healing benefits. It could be sound, it could be trees, plant medicine, uh, grounding, it could be music, it could be dancing, it could be, eating seasonally and locally grown food. Ancestral wellness is everything that our ancestors did and understood about life and nature and animals and, the moon cycles,
Hmm.
numerology. I can go on and on, but ancestral wellness is just all of those rituals, those ways of life that we use, and we used it with purpose to ensure that we thrived. And so that's what I do. I love teaching children. I love teaching anyone, like, it's time to reclaim your joy, you
Hmm.
know, your dawa. And so dawa is the Kiswahili word for medicine. And so
Mm.
I created dawa, um, and that's how I live my life, and that's how I share with our community to live their life, is to live in harmony with nature. And so I have my baby girl here. As like I said, I'm a mother. Now, right now, Mama's finished your coloring, okay? Yeah.
Oh. And I resonate so much with what you're saying. So with my fight with endometriosis, I was diagnosed when I was around 20. I was 25 because it was about a year after I had my daughter. But at the time, they didn't tell me that it was like a full body disease. So they
Mm,
said, it's reproductive. So I'm thinking that was the only issue that I would have. And over
mm-hmm,
the years, and around 2019, it really started, but the pain really kicked up around 2021.
mm-hmm,
And then that's when they said, oh, it's spread to your rectum, it's spread, to your back. And I'm like, who knew, that it can spread? So no one bothered to tell me, that it can spread that far. And I kept getting a couple downloads, about breathing and pausing, resting, and then recognize that I was coming from my ancestors. And if you look in
mm-hmm,
any of my past interviews, I'm talking about how I feel connected with the ancestors when I'm doing my movement work.
mm-hmm,
But now this is a different side of healing, where you're really getting to your liberation, and it's been so powerful for me. So I really wanted to share that with other people. And then when I really got into researching my own health, breathing and breath work, and just movement was a big way to treat endometriosis. So it was like I had that download before I even started. I started doing it. So,
mm-hmm.
mhm.
Wow, I'm so fascinated with you and just all that
Well,
you
thank
are.
you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Putting into action, getting those downloads. I love that you said that, like just listening. A lot of my what I've been like when I analyze
Hmm.
just experiences in my life. I'm like, wow, intuition led that. I had a feeling, and I worked that feeling and brought it to
Hmm.
life. It feels good to be able to hear your intuition and your, like you said, your spirits and just the people before us who are still guiding us and will never stop
Yeah.
guiding us. So,
Hmm. And I was gonna say, when you do your classes, what kind of things do you go over with people?
yeah. So ancestral wellness is, like I said, everything. So one of the most recent classes I did was
Hmm.
spring clean, and we speak spring clean your body, so your mind, your physical body, your spirit, and tapping into spring's abundance, the season of spring. To do so is a great time ancestrally we would
Hmm.
cleanse with this season. Winter is a time where we're eating warmer foods, we're not eating as
Yeah.
many fresh foods, we're hibernating. And so spring is time to clean out, detox, just like you would spring clean your home, you
Hmm.
spring clean your body. And so I just did that. I also run like nature camps with children and adults, just getting them reconnected, falling deeply in love with nature again. Just understanding that is something we already intuitively have. Is a deep
Hmm.
desire to be connected to nature, but it's something that's has been robbed from us, and it's time for us to reclaim it. So the nature camps we do, just really just anything around ancestral wellness we can recreate. We also focus a lot on maternal, like some mothers, childbirth, maternal nutrition. So in the city of Pittsburgh, we've trained about 100
Okay.
ancestral wellness or food wellness warriors. So those are women who know how to nourish a mother and a family before, during, and after birth. So we can really cater anything under ancestral wellness to any audience. It's just really getting the message out there so that we can reestablish generational health.
Wow. And something you said was so important about we have to reclaim it, because I
Hmm.
think a lot of times we say, "Oh no, that's white people stuff," like nature and hiking and those things. They come from our ancestors.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
All original people all around the world lived in harmony with nature. Only now it's
Hmm.
just like you know, for certain groups of people, or
Hmm.
not the norm. But there's still a lot of people all around the world that you live in harmony with nature. Even just like the practice of religions and how they
Yeah.
intermittent fast or they practice fasting is just something that's ancestral, and we understood the healing benefits of fasting and cleansing and taking a pause, and just like to reflect and pray. So we're really out of balance, out of whack in this world. So we
Hmm.
just got to get reconnected. And I think, thank you for highlighting that, because I say that a lot, is reclaim, reconnect, rebuild, just emphasizing that we've been here before. We have it within us to just bring it back.
Yeah, yeah. And when you had talked about using the food, so looking at food as medicine and growing your own food and using that, as a way to heal us and heal our communities, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big piece, because when you control people's food source, it's
Mm.
very easy to control really every aspect, because we need food. Like, that's one of our necessities, our essentials, our basics that we need to survive. And so when you control that system, when you control the seed, when you're removing seeds, when you're using toxic chemicals, when you're using harmful growing practices, shipping practices, just all the practices are just not done with compassion as they once was. And that little piece of just like compassion that's missing is destroying people, the planet, and our
Hmm.
waters, everything. So without it being all scary.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, I didn't want to go on it, because I
No,
mean,
no,
that's what
no,
we
go
have,
ahead.
a lot of fear in this world, and we hold fear in our bodies and our organs, and it's sometimes hard to get away from. But that's so the the biggest part of what I share is that nature
Mhm.
is how you get away from that and how you rebuild your confidence, and you could lose that fear because you trust like the magic of what nature is provides.
Mhm. And a lot of times you hold that trauma in your body, like you were
Hmm.
saying, you hold it in there. And if you don't have an opportunity to stop and pause, then you
Hmm.
really don't even realize what you're holding inside, and it'll show up. Body keeps score. It shows up and it takes over.
Yes. Did you read that book?
I
Is that
did. Did.
it? That so I really
Hmm.
um that, but that is so true. Yeah, our bodies hold generational trauma, not just ours. Like, so it's and we hold other people's trauma. Trauma bonding is a real thing. We hold other people's trauma. So our bodies are very like just there's so much to them. But we there but there's so much power into it. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And with diseases like endometriosis, which, like I said, people falsely say is a reproductive disease, it's not. It's a full body disease. A lot of people are gaslighted, especially by medical professionals. When we say we're in pain, it's a pain that isn't, I guess, physically, you can't see it on
Mhm.
us. We just kind of feel it. And it just goes, it's very under researched, it's very underfunded.
So,
You can't even see it on certain scans. So they have to do these very invasive scans. It's
mhm.
almost traumatic getting the scans done, so they can even see it. So there's a lot of medical gaslighting that goes in with it. And, people just not even believing you. And you're
Mhm.
taking medicine after medicine after medicine. And you're putting all these things in your body, and it's not working. I mean, it
Mhm.
took me, for me just to pause and say, oh, okay, what is going on with Fawn?
Mm.
Get, reconnected with myself. So that ancestral piece and that healing piece
Mhm.
it's just so important for us to just unlearn that white supremacy so we can just center ourselves.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. All resonates so much with what you shared. Or and I have to figure out how to use the anger that it puts in me, like
Yeah.
how it's like, it makes me angry. You just made me think of a medical kidnapping that I just came across, but I come across it so often of one of our babies and our mothers, our breastfeeding mothers, and now they're detached because of the system that's not
Mhm.
created for us, not working for us as it should not, it shouldn't be working for us. But
Mhm.
it's just like, this podcast, which I love, is called Voices of Liberation. And so
Mhm.
when we're talking about really liberating ourselves, it's completely removing ourselves from this system. When I went, I just was ignoring my body. That's why I really encourage people to begin to listen to their body. I love when you just recently said, what does Fawn need? You listening to you was so special and like a really sweet moment of yours. And so I really encourage everyone to figure out how to really fall deeply in love with yourself, deeply in love with your body, deeply in love with every aspect of yourself. And you might have to make some changes. It might be challenging to make yourself the best version of you, but that's how we get growth is through our challenges. But Yeah, it's just we got to remove ourselves from the systems that don't work for us. And that looks like creating sister circles, having these conversations. There's a situation I was sharing where all three of my sisters, or all three of us, I have two sisters,
Mhm.
were experiencing womb issues, all about all the same thing, but none of us knew it because we were all dealing with it in silence. And it's like,
Mhm.
what is going on to where we're all dealing with it? And mine was a situation where I had to go to the hospital. I was encouraged to go to the hospital because I was going to thug it out. But my mom, I happened to make it to my mom's house after almost like feeling with my children, like feeling like, what am I about to do? What's about to happen to me?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and hold on, give me one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so it made me. I went to the hospital, and before this, I was ignoring my body, and I kept getting my cycles were getting worse. They were getting heavier. I actually started to feel cramps where I really never experienced too much um, painful periods, but they were just getting worse, and I just kept ignoring it. And then that was my turning point when I was going on a bike ride. I made it to my mom's house. She's like, "Go to the hospital." The doctors said it looks like it could be endometriosis, but we won't be able to tell unless we do like a surgery. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do that. And then she shows me a piece of paper that's in her hand and says, "Here's a prescription though for birth control. So we just recommend you do this, and that should help it and manage it." And I'm like, okay, so think I may have this based off this one experience that you've seen me. You've never met me. I mean, you kind of have a detailed medical history, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, I can't figure out unless we have surgery, but here's this. And it's just like, this is what's happening all across the board in any way, shape, or form. And we're just not being told. Like you said, there's not much research on it. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, where I'm coming from, an ancestral wellness perspective,
Yeah.
don't need much research. We just need to go back to how we lived before. We need to stop being poisoned by the things that are body products, our hair products, our
Mm-hmm.
clothes, like all of these fast fashion and Fashion Nova and Shein clothes are harming us,
Mm-hmm.
are messing with our hormones, are not safe for us. But they don't tell us that part. We see the price tag. Um, or we're just using the baby oil or the lotions and the baby wipes and scented candles, and it's everywhere. Everything is affecting us. The water we bathe and eat in. Again, I don't want it to be something that becomes overwhelming for us, because it is for me. But it's only overwhelming when you don't operate in your village.
Yeah.
We are so out of how we were in a village. We helped each other out. There was no need for childcare. There was no need for grocery stores. So we weren't
Mm-hmm.
fighting for grocery stores because we were our grocery stores. We
Yeah.
knew how to do these things. There was a mom who was, for better lack of words, or no, I was going to say complaining, talking about the Rite Aid closing, the worst time for the Rite Aid to close because our babies need like medicine and things.
Yeah.
And I understand that to an extent, but it's like the medicine is the piece of ginger or the onion that you
Mm-hmm.
get
I should.
from the grocery store. We don't need the Rite Aid medicine. And I know some situations are different, but my
Mm-hmm.
overall point is that we have what we need within each other. When we operate outside of that village, then that's why you see all of the things going on, even things like postpartum depression. That's only because we don't have a village.
Mm-hmm.
there's 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 cultures all or just groups of people all around the world who are thriving in villages, doing things about corrupt.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for all of that. I agree with everything that you pointed out. And this is a time we really are going to have to get back to community.
Hmm.
Because you don't know what you don't know,
Hmm.
and if you don't take that time to unlearn everything that we've just ingested about white supremacy, then you're operating outside of your higher self. You're just operating. You're just surviving. You're not even thriving. You're not in your optimal health. And we do have the power to heal ourselves, and that's done through collective healing. You know,
Hmm.
so you really have to go beyond the self care of spas and getting massages, and really just, treat yourself, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that message isn't always highlighted in the movement work
Mm-hmm.
that we do. A lot of people get upset. They're like, why are you telling people to rest? I'm like, because we can rest and resist, because rest is resistance. But we can do both. We can absolutely, and we should be doing both. We
Yes.
should be doing both. Yeah.
Yes. Rest is essential for your healing. We need to rest. We need to rest properly. I love when you say
Mhm.
you hold yourself to rest. Sometimes that is as simple as it is just allowing ourselves to rest in a world that tells us to work, that in a world that tells us to, especially as women with wombs, like we don't operate in this patriarchy world where we're always moving. Our cycle, living in harmony with nature, tells us that we have a cycle where there's a time for resting, there's a time for productivity and creativity, and for us to kind of bloom. We have many or just different cycles, and we're not operating in them, and see all of these things out of balance physically because of those some of those things are like the roots we healing.
Yes, yes. And then before we let you go, I just want to ask you what women in your life have inspired you, because this is also outside of being Endometriosis Awareness Month. It's Women's History Month, Black
Yay.
Feminism Month. So what women have inspired you?
I say all of y'all. When I saw that question, I was, I started to think like, I love me some, like but I love all of us. Like women, there are so many women healers in my life that um have inspired me, like my sisters, my mother, my grandmother, you know, um, Harriet Tubman is one of my favorite. Um, but just all of our like ability to just be so magical. We're so great. I love how we love each other and nurture each other. Like a nurturing woman just like brings so much joy to me, because we all do it so well and so naturally.
Mm.
But yeah, everybody, you just like you drop these gems and seeds are planted in me, just that excite, and it brings so much excitement to me. So I can be on here forever. Shafia Monroe, like there's so many experiences and women in my life who I've just been like, man, I'm blessed. Woman, I'm blessed.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you for joining us, and we'll make sure that we put in the comments how people can get in contact with you. Put your Instagram, and folks can reach out.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you for this platform, and may the Most High continue to bless you with many more blessings. Okay.
Thank you so much. And I'll kind of put you back in the waiting room, but make sure you stay on till the end. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much, Taylor, for joining us and having that important conversation about healing, and different ways to look at healing, and to really do some healing where you're getting back in touch with nature, back in touch with your ancestors, and also highlighting Endometriosis Awareness Month. And endometriosis is a chronic disease. It's a full body disease that affects millions of people across the world. It is underfunded, under researched. So, with March and just every other month, we are always screaming and pounding the drum and raising awareness about endometriosis. It is something that affects, like I said, millions of people, but it's a disease that you can't see people having. We just feel it. And oftentimes we're not believed, especially Black women, when we go to the doctors and say we're in pain, because there's this myth that Black women can take pain and we don't need pain pills, or we don't even need treated for our pain because we're strong enough to deal with it. So these are all the things that when we're talking about endometriosis, we want to bring up the medical gaslighting, especially that Black women face when they're going to the doctors and advocating for themselves, but also that we should be advocating for ourselves. We should be speaking up. We should be making sure that the doctors are listening to us. We should be making sure that we're looking for different methods of healing, because we have the power to heal ourselves, as you just heard the conversation before that. So we should feel empowered to do that. But you cannot do any of that, you all, if you're not rested. If you don't take a pause and take a break and take some time for yourself. So I hope that is what came through within that conversation. And like we said, it's also Women's History Month. So we want to highlight some Black women of the Black Liberation Movement. So we have a flyer going around social media where we're highlighting the Columbia River Collective, and that is a group of Black women that came together in the 70s. There was not a space for them within the Black Liberation Movement, as if they felt like they were kind of being pushed aside because they identified as women. And then you had the white women feminism movement where they didn't feel like they belonged there either. So they rebelled and made this Columbia River Collective, which is amazing, where they're talking about their own feminism and how that connects to the movement in their own words. Very powerful piece. It's called the Columbia River Collective. And there's also Tarika Lewis, who was the first Black Panther. So we have her information out there on our flyer as well, and as well as Angela Davis and Claudia Jones. So these are just some of the women of the Black Liberation Movement. So please feel free to look at Instagram or our Facebook pages, and we have their links. You can learn more about them. The women of the Columbia River Collective, Tarika Lewis, who is the first female Black Panther, Angela Davis, and then Claudia Jones. So please make sure you are checking that information out. Also wanted to talk about some current events that have been happening, I would say, here in Allegheny County. So first is the special election. There is a special election on March 29th for the 35th district. So after the passing of Matthew Gurgley, who recently passed away, there became a vacancy. And condolences to the Gurgley family, but that created a vacancy. So with that vacancy, there was a special election on March 29th. So this is a special election. So the way this works, it's not like a typical election. When a vacancy occurs within the state seat here in Pennsylvania, the party selects who they want to put on the ballot for the special election. So that's why you've seen some people running. I believe there were 6 people that put their name in a hat within the Democratic Party. So you can't go out and vote for those people. Those 6 people are voted on by the actual party. So the Allegheny County Democratic Party voted on those 6 people. And then with those 6 people, they chose Dan. So Dan is the person who is running for the Democratic seat, Dan Gogenower. And then the Republicans had a similar process, and they chose Charles Davis to run on the Democratic side. And then there's a Libertarian candidate as well, Adam Kida. So there's 3 candidates whose names will be on the ballot with the special election. There's Dan Gochenhauer, so that is the Democratic candidate. Chuck Davis is Republican, and then Adam Kida is a Libertarian. So on March 29th, polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can go and vote for any of these 3 people if you live in the 35th district. So I kind of wanted to explain that for people so they kind of understood how the special election worked. So we once again we have that flyer going around on Facebook and Instagram as well, and you can look and see what communities make up the 35th district. I know McKeesport is in there, White Oak is in there, Clareton is in there. There's a couple other different communities. No, Clareton's not in there. It's just McKeesport, White Oak, Whitaker. There's a couple other areas in there. So I'll make sure to put that in our comment section so you can see all the areas. But that is March 29th. There is also a primary election in May, but these are 2 different things we're talking about. So the March 29th election is the special election, and the election in May is a totally separate election. So that's when we'll have some school board people and some city council people and some judges as well. So we are going to have a town hall on March 20th, where we come together and I go a little bit more into the special election. We've invited all 3 candidates to come. It is not a debate, it is just opportunity for them to share their platform with the community. And you all can ask a few questions. So that is going to be March 20th from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. The location is to be announced. Please continue to follow us on social media so we can let you all know when we select the location. So far, Adam Kita has said that he will be in attendance, and we have not yet to hear from Mr. Davis or Dan yet. But Mr. Kita said that he will be in attendance on March 20th, so that's an opportunity for people to come out and hear directly from the candidates. Also, some mention that on March 27th, we are having an endometriosis awareness panel at Dreams Hair Studio in Homestead. So those information will be posted as well. But there is a special election coming up on March 29th. And we'll put a link in our comments as well so you can find more information out about the special election. So there's also one more piece we wanted to bring up. It is around police accountability. So our event on the 20th, the town hall, is just not about the special election. It is also about police accountability. And we're doing that because there has been some recent things that have occurred with McKeesport Police Department. But we really want to highlight that these are not new things that are happening with McKeesport Police Department. This goes back for centuries. As we all know, the creation and the start of policing overall is racist. So policing in itself, the institution of policing, is racist, and that's literally how it started. So the McKeesport Police Department is no different. I know there's narrative going around, well, oh, these are these new road cops. No, this has been going on for years. There is lawsuits going back to older than 2014 against the McKeesport Police Department. You have in 2020 there was an officer involved incident with Kobe Francis and him escaping after the officers didn't do their due diligence. So Kobe was able to escape. The officer did survive because he ended up shooting the officer. The officer survived, but they ended up catching Kobe. But that manhunt turned into harassing our community. And at that time, we gave our compassion and to the officer, and thank goodness that the officer survived. But that does not mean that the community has to be terrorized just because an officer was shot. So we actually ended up filing a lawsuit against that. That is still in the courts. So it's still being withheld in the courts. So they're still waiting to hear from McKeesport to respond on that lawsuit. But well, for a few days, they came through and they were ripping people out their houses. They were doing searching without asking, showing up and putting guns at people and saying, hey, can I come in? Who the hell's going to say no to that? All because one of their officers was shot. And just because, like I say, one officer wasn't is shot doesn't mean that we lose all of our constitutional rights and that we lose our rights as human beings and people. So that happened in 2020. And then in 2021, we had to file a lawsuit to get access to speak at council meetings because we came and they wouldn't let us in the door, which violates the Sunshine Law. And we won that lawsuit. So then they opened up council meetings back up. They tried to use COVID as an excuse, but we won that lawsuit. And then in 2022, one of their own filed a lawsuit, Candace, against them for not being, promoted as a black female officer. And then in 2023, there was another officer involved shooting where unfortunately an officer was murdered, another officer was shot. And then we actually, in 2023, filed the lawsuit for the incident that occurred in 2020. And then in 2024, just last year, their evidence room is under investigation. There was an officer arrested for stealing money from a fund to help the officer that was murdered. Various officers in rehab, and then that's where these new rogue officers come in 2025. So this is not new. These are not new complaints about the Keysburg Police Department. These are things that have been ongoing. Just last month, there's a video that went viral of an officer pulling somebody over, and that led to, for some reason, the officer, busting in the door, charging him and his girlfriend, just excessive force. And then just recently, literally just 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, black man, 70-year-old black man, you all, 70 years old, was assaulted by the police, fractured ribs, face busted. Man had a trach, you all. I'm going to run that back again. This is a 70-year-old man who has a trach. And you mean to tell me you could not subdue a 70-year-old man without fracturing his ribs? This is a 70-year-old man with a trach, you all. It does not take all of that. So there is a video with officers with their knees in his neck, in his back, and in his ribs, which is why he considered the busted ribs, which is why his face is bruised. This is a 70-year-old man, you all. There is no excuse for that shit. No excuse at all to assault a 70-year-old man this way. No excuse at all. So we are demanding that those officers be terminated. We will be updating our site with the name of those officers once we get all of their names, so their names can be out there. Because that is ridiculous, you all. A 76-year-old man. Like, what does threat does a 76-year-old man pose? And we have one name of one of the officers that was involved with the 70-year-old man is Nick Probla, Nickprobola, Nick Probla. That is one of the officers that was involved with the situation with the 70-year-old man, you all. 70 years old. And then a situation a few weeks ago, and this video is on our blog, and we will put the video for the 70-year-old man up there as well. That officer with the other situation where he pulled over the black man, that's Parker Scherf. So that's Officer M. Parker Scherf, Parker and Scherf, Parker Scherf. So those are two of the officers that we are demanding they be terminated. We did also meet with the city of McKeesport to confront them about these issues. This was before this incident with the 70-year-old man. This was literally just 2 weeks ago. We met with them, and we talked about everything that was going on. And our overall demand and belief as abolitionists is that they should defund police, put that money back in the communities, and abolish police altogether, and get rid of that and build that back up with the community. That's always what we're going to say. And we said that to them to their faces at this specific meeting. So we kind of went back and forth, and they agreed to have some kind of a conversation about a police review board, as well as having social workers respond with a lot of these officers, because even some of these situations I'm bringing up could be handled if there was a mental health professional there with them. Um, so a lot could be handled if there was a police review board or some kind of way to investigate. The way it is presently now is the McKeesport police investigate themselves. So if you ever want to make a formal complaint, which you should, we should be making complaints against the police. It helps us for a record. The reason why TAG has been somewhat successful with filing lawsuits and winning is because we do our own investigations. We keep our own data. We keep our own records. So you go file a complaint so there can be a record. You have to go to the police department and file a complaint with the chief or assistant chief. There's a form you fill out. We always tell people to type something and have that ready when you do go file the complaint. Lay out exactly what happened. You have to get it notarized in order for it to be official, and then you give that to the chief, and then the chief will more than likely notify the mayor and whoever's involved, and then they'll call you with the result. That is the way it is now. So the times where the county gets involved in the investigation is if it was an officer involved shooting, or if it was a homicide, or if it's sometimes high profile, the county will get involved with the investigation. So that's the process as it is now, and we need something more than that. So TAG was heavily involved with the Allegheny County Police Review Board. While we recognize that's a reformist response, we do think that's a good path toward abolition and a path toward more community policing. So we would support something like an Allegheny County Police Review Board, and which is why we did support it. We spoke to the city of McKeesport about opting into it. So the way it is now is you have to opt into the Police Review Board in order to participate because the county is structured odd as hell, and there's over 100 different police departments, and there's no jurisdiction for these police departments. The only people who are in charge of them is their chief, and typically their council or the mayor, depending on how it's structured. So in McKeesport, it is a humble charter community, and it is a strong mayor community. So the mayor has a lot of the power over the police. Council can sit on the personnel committee, and they can call for investigations as well. So that's how McKeesport is kind of structured. What makes us a little different, so they can either opt into the present Allegheny County Police Review Board or start their own here at McKeesport. So those are some of the things that we'll be sharing at the town hall. Be sharing how people can get involved with that, which is our chapters, because we've had our chapters for 10 years now, and always open to people kind of getting involved. But just want to end by saying that there is no excuse for for a 70-year-old man to be treated that way. Um, Literally, you can subdue him without harming him and damn near killing him. There literally is no excuse for such behavior. Shame on these officers for doing that. We're not going to stand for that, and we're not going to be silent, and we're not going to be quiet about it. We're going to continue to speak up because we've been speaking up for years, which is why we understand you cannot have a town hall and not bring these things up and just talk about voting and just talk about elections. We don't move at the speed of elections. We move at the speed of our liberation. We understand that we are fighting for our liberation, and this is our duty to do that. And we will continue to do so regardless of who gets elected, who doesn't get elected, and regardless of who's in office and who's not in office. So that is why our town hall will also talk about police accountability and highlight what is going on in the city of McKeesport, and highlight our demands and highlight what can be done and what should be done. We said that we cannot just sit in silence and not speak up. I know we have put some messaging out on our social media in which I said, we can't fight you for your healing. And we mean that. We have an agenda. Yes, it is your liberation. Absolutely. We want to help people get toward their liberation. And we cannot do that if we remain quiet, if we remain silent, if we remain passive, um, just so we don't rock the boat. We want to rock the boat. We want to break the bitch in half. We want to do everything we have to do to raise awareness and to be loud and to be proud and to be black and to be advocates for ourselves. We have a duty to fight for our freedom, and we have a duty to win. So that is what we will do, and we will continue to do that. We're always looking for help and assistance for people to join our youth chapter, our adult chapter, and just get the word out. For far too long, we have been living like this in McKeesport, and frankly, I'm sick of the shit. I'm sick of it. We deserve to live in a world where we have optimal health. We deserve to live in a world where we have optimal community building. We deserve nice things as well. Damn it. And we're going to go out there and let people know. So if you're always willing to come rock with us, we would definitely appreciate that. Send us love and light as we continue to fight here in Allegheny County, and then fight across the world. There's so many things going on. We understand the intersection with our struggle and those struggles in Palestine and Congo and Haiti, and Sudan. There's things going on all across the world. Congo is on fire. There's women getting raped and people getting assaulted, and we can't be silent about those things either. We have to make sure that we are, showing our solidarity there as well. So, thank you for joining us on today's podcast, and we will see you all next month. Until then, make sure you stay black and you stay positive, and that you're resting, you're resisting, and you're getting involved and taking care of yourselves. Ashe.